Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen. And as always, we got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the Knicks going 3-0 since the last show. The news about OG Anunoby not playing tonight and potentially being out a few more games. Just when we were able to get just a little bit more excited. We'll talk about the 3 games we have coming up this week. We'll talk about Mitchell Robinson, a little bit about Julius Randle, and everything in between. Appreciate you rocking with us. The Knicks play tonight, actually, at 10 o'clock. So hopefully we'll have to do this in a little over an hour. I want to bring in Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises, Stafford Don, resident panelist, Dope Soul Sports Talk, lady in the shaft from the 2 Knicks chicks, who will now be a regular panelist on the Queen's Court. Appreciate you. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here with you all. Excited.
Yeah, for sure. How's everybody doing overall? Everybody's good?
Yeah. As always have them great.
I'm good, man. Everything's solid over here.
I was doing better until I got the news with OG. So
yeah.
We
other than that.
Other than that, okay. All right. Let me just go to, this is my favorite view right there. So that's at the top. I love it. Anyway, shout out to the MBK family of shows, pregame, postgame, the shoot around with Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel, the NBA wrap up Thursday nights. I think they're going Fridays now because the Knicks play so many games on Thursday with Ron of Still Knick Fans, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the Losers Lounge with Tony Crow, yours truly on the panel of Knicks and Bruises, live shows and videos by International Andy, who touched down in the United States for about a week or so. Great meeting him. Queen's Court with yours truly of Dope Soul Sports Talk. I have my own channel if you've been living under a rock. Subscribe to the channel when you get an opportunity. Special programming and events by Sim. All right, let's get into it. I'm just going to do a quick rundown and a reminder for what happened between last show and tonight before we get into it. The Knicks are now 40-27. There was a 3-0 week. We kept pace, 4th in the Eastern Conference. We, like you said, won 3 straight. Offensive rating, 14th overall. Defensive rating, 7th overall. Net rating, 6th overall. This past week, 3 games, offensive rating, 20th. So, this offense, which is, we talk about Tibbs as being a defensive coach, but these past few years, most of the time he's been here, it's been our offense that's been singing. But with Randall out, the injuries, Brunson having a carry a heavy load and trying to work Bogdanovich and Burks into the team, our offense has not been great. Defensively, this last week, we were first, net rating 2nd. The Knicks beat Philadelphia 106-79. Hart and Brunson had 20 points. Hart also had 19 rebounds. We shot almost 51% from the field, 35% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. Then we went to Portland. We won 105-93. Brunson 45. The team shot 43.7 from the field, not great. Only 20.7% from the 3-point line, not great. 88.5% from the free throw line. Then Sacramento, wow, great game. We won that 98-91. Brunson with 42. Hartenstein looked a little bit more like himself. Got some more minutes in that game. I think he had 28 minutes, and it seems like before that he was getting anywhere from 22 to 24. He had 14 rebounds, also 4 or 5 blocks, I believe. The team just shot 43% from the field. Again, not great. 28.2% from the 3-point line. Again, not great. 81.2% from the free throw line. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Um, so yeah, who and what stood out for you this week? Tony, Staffer, Lady and the Chef, and then we'll go back around on the next question.
Well, obviously, OG's, coming back immediately. We see what a difference maker he is on this team. How much better the defense is. Not that the defense was lacking, but
Mhm.
it really just solidifies us in me, especially the number one defensive team in the league when he's on this squad, when he's playing. So I mean that's number one. And
Yeah,
Brunson continues to show that he's him. You know what I mean? Like we talking about MVPs, all NBAs. Like he's in the conversation for anything that is out there.
yeah, no doubt. Are you surprised? Um, or you just at a point now when it comes to Brunson that there really isn't anything he can do that surprises you at this point?
I'm surprised because he's done this, without Randall, respectfully, without OG for a long stretch.
Mhm.
So that's the surprising part. Like I knew collectively who we were, or who we could be, who we should be. But him carrying what, like Jay Boogie said earlier, dragging the team of reserves, and shout out to them too, because each and every one of them has stepped up when asked, when called upon. But dragging these second unit guys in the first unit, and carrying this team. So I can't even lie in front, like I'm not surprised by that part.
Yeah, 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 I agree. Staffer, who and what stood out for you in this 3-0 week?
It gotta be our coach, man. I'm going with him. I'm going with him for these past 3 games. Locking down defenses, man. Cutting off lanes. Um, you know, holding Sabonis to 3 points in the second half.
Wow.
Well, in third quarter, just 3 points, and in the fourth quarter, he had none. And then there was a critical turnover by him in the fourth. So, that's one right there. Shout out to him by doing that. Also, with that, also too, just sending the double team early, because we always say Tibbs, he sent it too late. This time he didn't play with Sabonis. We double teamed him. He was delayed a little bit, but we did it enough where it was effective. So I got to shout out my coach to that when it comes to the defense. And just like everybody say, man, what can you say about Jalen? Just magnificent franchise player. I mean, somebody that's gonna take your team to another level. You know what I mean? And I just hope the franchise just go ahead and keep on building around this dude and put enough players around this kid that we could get to where we need to get. So yeah, man, that's about it.
Okay. All right. Lady in the Chef, who or what and or what stood out for you this past week?
For me, it's collectively the whole team stood out. Being able to defeat the odds despite all the injuries and remaining in the top seeding in the East. Most of the games Brunson has carried this team on his back, but I think that, with the news of OG this evening that we've heard of earlier,
Mhm.
I think that's where you're going to need the other supporting guys to come in and step up. And I think they've had some games throughout this win streak that they've had where they've stepped in and stepped up. But I think collectively as a whole, this team, I think guys know the end goal of where they're trying to go this year. And they've been able to figure out a way to still pull off wins because it's funny when you look at the standings, you're like, and I see people from another sports media post on YouTube, and people are like in the chat in the comments writing, wow, the Knicks are still in the fourth despite all the injuries. And it's true, with all the injuries that we've been sustained throughout this season, the fact that this team is still finding a way to be gritty and scrappy and win teams is impressive. And I really appreciate about this Knicks team. But I just think that I don't want to necessarily say like I do agree. I think OG, you see the difference with him coming in, and I think the same thing with Brunson, who's been carrying the team, and Josh Hart, who's been doing a great job and coming in, grabbing the rebounds for us and scoring when we need him to. And I think before I used to be so hard on Josh Hart because I would be like, damn, why can't he give us 20 points? And I know Diva Locks, and I've even heard you, Queen, say it like that's not really his role. And I think because I was looking at it from a lens of he shows me that he's capable of doing
Right.
it,
Right.
but he shows that he's able to step in and do it when he needs to do it and when the team needs him to do it.
Right.
So I think having guys, if we have other supporting cast members besides Josh Hart, but like Deuce McBride, Bojan, Burks, Precious, those guys are gonna have to step up as well. So this way we can sustain and maintain throughout the remainder of this season. But collectively as a whole, this Knicks team together, they have what stood out to me.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a piggyback off of what you said because I was, as you guys were talking, I was like, all right, Brunson. Then Stafford said Tibbs. All right, Tibbs. Then you
Mhm.
said Josh Hart. All right. So collectively, I think heroes abound. Different players at different times during the week. I think one of the things that stood out that hasn't been mentioned was the game that Bogdanovich and Burks had.
Mhm.
I believe was it Sacramento or was it was
Yeah.
Sacramento? And I don't know, maybe that's the beginning of them getting off their snide, because they played really well down the stretch when we needed them. And when you think about that second unit, they're leading the second unit scoring wise. McBride will give us something, as well. Hart will give us something, but Hart is not really known as a scorer. Like the shooters on that second team is Bogdanovich and Burks for now. I mean, if Tibbs, maybe he doesn't rock with Burks, we shall see. Um, to see those guys hit some timely shots, to see Burks, I don't even care if Burks missed shots. He looked like a basketball player. Like he took good shots. You know what I mean? He was where he was supposed to be. He didn't look like an energizer bunny just running around the court. That definitely bodes well for us. And I'm gonna give Tom some love just in terms of how he's holding his team. Like we said this a year or two ago, maybe even before that, when Thibodeau first got here. You got to start developing championship habits well before you a championship team. And that's what the Knicks did. They started developing that identity that we're going to show up game in and game out. We're going to give you everything we had well before we were a championship team. And we're doing that now, but that's just part of our identity. It's not something we've just started doing. That next man up mentality, that's the Knicks.
Mhm.
And I think they really believe it. They really believe it, which is why I think we've been able to hang on, to the fourth season. So that stood out. And Brunson is just that dude. Um, the coach for Sacramento, his name escapes me. What's his name? Brown.
Mike
Mike Brown.
Brown.
He said they basically gave him the Steph Curry treatment. That they blitzed him, they doubled him. He can't 40% of the time or whatever it was, and he answered the call every time. And that's the same thing Spolstra said. And shout out to JD from KFT TV who put this post up on Twitter to remind us that that's what Spolstra said after the Miami season. They threw everything at Brunson and he still showed up. And that's what stars do. And I think at this point we can start calling Brunson a star because what happens with stars? You know what they're gonna do. You know their favorite move. You know where their spots are. There's no surprises, and you still can't stop them, right? And I think Brunson is at that level. So all of that stood out for me
Why,
this week. Anything else?
Can
why you think
can
I
I
said? Why you think I said he's a franchise player? because he's the best player on the team. You
Mhm.
understand? I mean, that's the star right there. And just shout out the audible mention to Hartenstein also too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because homeboy, he duped it out with Sabonis. And then as soon as the game started, Murray tried him with a dunk. Nah, you don't do that, bro. You know what I mean? They be trying IHOP, but he comes back and he proves himself. And then one more thing with Coach Thibodeau, when I think we were up 3, and he wrote a play out of the timeout and he gave it to Hartenstein. And Hartenstein took him right to the hole and got an and one.
Mhm.
So yeah, so those guys, are doing their thing. Go ahead, Tom.
To piggyback on what Stafford was saying about giving Tibbs his credit, um, he rocked out with Bogey and Burks, you know what I mean, for an extended period of time, which he wasn't doing a
Yeah.
week ago. You know what I'm saying? Like both of those
This was
guys.
a complaint of mine. Let them rock, you know?
So again, Tibbs their credit, and then to piggyback off what you were saying, Queen, um, the narrative changed even before we made it to the playoffs that first year with Tibbs, because the narrative was, oh, they're not a contender, but nobody wants to play the Knicks in the first round. You know what I mean? Granted, we know what the outcome was, but that was the narrative. You seen it
Right,
starting to change
right.
way before, you know what I mean? We've been as consistent as we are now.
Yeah. Um, and I think that for those of us who were around in the 90s, that's how Pat Riley coached. That's how Van Gundy coached. It starts now. You don't wait until you're a championship team and now you want to hustle up and do the things that championship teams do. You start now with those, with those habits. So I love the coach of the team. It's getting to the point where well, I don't know about now with San Antonio, but you knew who San Antonio was. You knew there were certain players that wasn't going to play for San Antonio. Same thing with Miami, and I think the Knicks are becoming that. The Knicks are becoming that as well. Let's talk about OG Ananobi. Tony, you were right. Even in the second game, with his elbow maybe falling off, he still made a difference. He still made a difference in the game. Even when he shot, you could tell, like, what the hell? What kind of shot was that? But his impact, I don't know what his plus minus was, but I would guess it was a plus. He just changes things for the Knicks. So your thoughts on the fact that he's going to miss the game tonight and he may miss multiple games. So, are you disappointed in that? Are you do you think the Knicks rushed him back? Are you concerned about him just being a Knick and the contract we have to give him, if he doesn't opt in, in the off season? And I know Tony, you think he may opt in, but if he doesn't, any concerns about just giving somebody $30 million who may average 65 to 68 games while he's here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
whichever way you want to go with it, just thoughts on OG and his injury. We're gonna
I know.
start with okay, go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead. You could do your order.
Yes, yes, lady in the show.
For me, there is a little concern because one thing I was applauding the front office was not bringing in players who were injury prone, right? It just so happened, and I don't even look at it like we have injury prone players. I just look like this is a unfortunate season that we endured injuries. Because if you look at even a player like Randall, he's not known to have injuries. I think the only real player we've had he suffered injuries is Mitchell Robinson. He's had his fair share of injuries, but he's been able to come back, play seasons, especially the last two, cool. But this is just one of those things where I feel like we finally got rid of the dark cloud from over us because I believe there's one here in New York over our teams. And we've removed it from the New York Knicks. I think this team, like I said earlier, they found their identity. And I think OG instantly, when he came here, seamlessly fit into this offense, seamlessly fit into this defense. I mean, like he played with us before. He just came in And I think I can speak for myself. That's what I was expecting a little bit from Alex Burks when he came in to seamlessly fit back into. Not because he played for that mediocre Knicks team,
Mhm.
but I just felt like he's grown as a player. You see where his game has developed more. So I thought, okay, he would come back here and just instantly be able to fit back in. But then again, I've said, well, when he did play for us, that was an old Knicks team. This is a completely different Knicks team. But I don't know. I think that does worry me a little bit that you give a guy like Hartenstein, like OG, you pay them and give them the bag of what they're looking for, and then we have to worry about them enduring injuries. And especially, I think even with our two bigs, with Mitch and Hartenstein, that's worrisome with the Achilles. With you don't know what injury Mitch may, God forbid, suffer next season. It is worrisome as a fan, and I'm sure for the front office, which I think they're heavily relying on how does the Knicks finish this season and what moves they're going to make in the off season. I don't think they're going to do anything dramatic. They can surprise all of us,
Mhm.
but I think with OG, I think that, it's a risk that they have to take. Would I take the risk? To some degree, yeah, because I think when he's out there, like you said, his impact is huge on this team. And when he's not there, like tonight, case in point, I think we all have to watch and see how does this team play against a team like the Warriors tonight? How is the energy? I think the only other guy on this Knicks team that plays really well and does like what OG does with seeing the ball and seeing his man is Dante DiVincenzo. He's able to go in for those steals and get that fast break bucket, or Josh Hart. They do that very well. But otherwise in that, you it's kind of hard to get those little intangibles that he do. So to sacrifice saying he's not going to give you 82 games and maybe only pay 65 or 68, and do you still pay him that money? I don't know. I think the Knicks should still try to use that couponing shopping like they do and negotiate the contract. So this way us fans don't yell and go, we paid him all that money. He's only paying 65 games. So you got to give it and take it with that.
Yeah, well, that may be why we can get him for 30 and not 40.
Right.
Because had he not gotten injured and and the Knicks won 50 some odd games, it would have been hard to get him at 30. Um, Stafford, just your thoughts on the injury, um, the
Um,
concerns for the rest
I'm,
of the season.
I'm, I'm, I'm just like Tony. When I heard the news, as I was telling you earlier, I was, the elbow soreness is expected, and it's just management, and the guy comes back in the game and he plays all through the game, and after the game he's saying it's okay, you know, and then now today you wake up with this bomb talking about he's out for tonight and more games.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the front office, bro. Stop playing with us. Why would you bring this guy back so early when you know he's not ready yet? You understand? And then some of y'all trying to blame the coach. The coach is not a doctor. And then and just knowing where he's from England, and I know how the mentality, how they think, because I know them, they want to prove themselves. He's gonna say, yo, I want to play. You gotta understand, some of y'all gotta understand this is a contract year for him. He's trying to get paid. So if you was a coach and you come in and tell me, and you ask me actually, can you play? Knowing my elbow killing me now, and I want to, make it look like I want to be obligated to my teammates because I want to go out there knowing my elbow mess. I'm gonna tell the coach, yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and play it off. But you see, everything backfired now, bro. If you know you was not ready, just be honest with yourself. The front office too, because I gotta put them some blame on them too,
And the medicals, you think it's the
and
front office?
and the medical staff, because it all comes intertwined when I say the front office. So put all of them in one shot, because all of them make a collective decision, right? Stop duking the people, bro. Talking about it's just elbow management. That's the thing that got me heated. It's when you keep on telling us about, oh, it's just management, and it's just this, and it's just that, and it's soreness, and it's expected. No, don't do that. Come on, man. We're trying to get to the longevity, not the short term.
But
Don't
are
do
you
it.
okay with him playing? I mean, listen, somebody can pull it up. I don't remember the last time OG Anunoby has played 82 games. So I think the Knicks knew what they were getting. My question to you is if he plays 65 to 68 games, let me see, 78. The Knicks can't. Somebody put this. The Knicks can't win 14 games without OG Anunoby. Somebody said if he gives you 65 to 68 games,
I mean,
uh,
I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that. But you know, just I just hope when the injury do occur, it's not coming down to the end of the playoffs where we got to fight for everything right now. Because we got 15 games to go. You understand what I'm saying? And the fourth seed is not solidified like we did, and we could relax. We got Orlando on our case. We got Indiana on our case. Philadelphia and Miami is playing right now. You understand what I'm saying? So we ain't got time to play right now. It's crunch time right now.
well, let me ask you. Well, let me ask you this, and then Tony, when you give your answer, you can add this to it. Are you? Oh no, you know what? I'll save it for next session. Go ahead. You finish?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So
Um, I'm sorry. What was the exact question?
the original question was just your thoughts on OG's injury. If you want to
I beg
comment
your
on how it impacts us the rest of the season, if you want to comment on his contract, wherever you want to take it.
So my concern, believe it or not, and it might be contrary to most of you, is more. My concern is more sh- uh short term than long term.
Okay.
And when I say short term, I mean this season. You know what I mean. I whatever. If it takes a week, if it takes whatever, I just want him back healthy. We've been dealing with next guy up all year. Same goes with Randall. Take your time. I want you healthy. Um, but I do think this has to be a negotiating tool. Like when it comes down to the extension, the long term part, I'm less concerned. I think number one, no matter how anyone's felt at the time, over time, every contract this front office has given out has been amazing. You know what I mean? Like it's always ended up looking like a win for the front office. Um, so I expect that trend to continue, and I think that's the way it's gonna roll. I'm on record. I think he opts in anyway, gets the extension off the opt in. That's a longer term of security. And like you just mentioned a few minutes ago,
Mhm.
if it is 65 games, 70 games, or 65 games, you know what I mean? Or he missed 20, you know what I mean? As long as he's playing when it's playoff time, as long as I think we've proven we could sustain a short term injury. So yeah, I'm not that concerned with it long term. It's really about what's it gonna be this year? How's it gonna affect them this year? Because I feel like we have a chance to shock people at full strength with his defense. Um, and then let the chips fall where they may. I don't think they overpay. I think like everybody else, there's a number they won't surpass. So I do think that, but I think his injuries have to bring the price down to a reasonable number.
Yeah. I think the Knicks may be out of discounts. I think Brunson is coming up. I think Randall is coming up. OG when he plays, I think, so maybe he does, the Knicks front office has some leverage in terms of injury, but he has leverage that when he plays, the Knicks are that much that much better. I'm okay if we can get 65 to 68 games out of OG. I'll pay him 30, whatever the going rate is for him for those 65 games because he's just dynamic when he
Hmm.
plays. He just changes the complexion of our team. And if we stay deep like this, then we should have enough to win in that 16 or 18 games, whatever it is that
15.
um, 15 that that he doesn't play. Related to this, do you think the Knicks, and that means Tom Thibodeau and the front office may have a say in this as well before I bring Jeff in, should the Knicks consider dialing back minutes on players, sitting players out, even if it means losing games and playoff seeding? Should the Knicks, the coaching staff, and I think the front office would have to be in on this as well. Should they consider that? Dialing back minutes, holding guys out, even if it means we lose games and lose some playoff seeding. Stafford, oh, go ahead, Tony, go.
I think they already have. I think they're already dialed down minutes. I think they've already been a lot more cautious in the back half of the year than they have early in the year, Thibodeau included, or specifically. Um, like I mentioned earlier on Nicks and Bruises, we saw Brunson with extended rest um in the fourth quarter, the past couple games, really trusting upon Deuce to like I said earlier in the year. Anytime things were going wrong, Deuce was the one pulled, whether he was responsible for it or not. It's nice to see Tibbs actually give him that extended run when he's playing well, and giving Brunson that extended rest. Same thing with Hartenstein. I think he's also been limited in minutes, 20 minutes. So a couple games with 20 minutes from him
Mm-hmm.
due to other guys stepping up. And I think the way the season has gone, I think it has to be acknowledged that this is why the changes have occurred. Guys have been dropping like flies. Guys been stepping up. You got to preserve these guys. I don't know if Thibodeau is looking at it from a standpoint of at the expense of wins, because as he's been on record saying, whoever's playing, I feel like we can win. I
Right.
believe
Gotta
him.
know.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe he believes that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he's looking at it from a win perspective, but I do think they have made that adjustment already.
Yeah. Yeah. Salute, Jeff.
Salute. Sorry I'm late. It's
That's
been a
okay.
crazy day. I was rushing as fast as I could to get home. I had something that popped up and I couldn't get out of it.
That's cool. We made an announcement that Lady and the Chef is joining the Monday Queen's Court panel. So we appreciate
Great news.
that. The Knicks play tonight, so we got 45 minutes, and I got so many questions. We may not get to them all, but the question we were talking about was OG's injury, and in general, should the Knicks consider limiting the minutes of players, sitting players out, even at the expense of winning games and potentially dropping in the playoff seeding? For me, no. Um, I don't believe in stressing players out and play, but I don't also believe in artificially sitting players. If the medical staff say you will go, then you will go. If they say you're not, you're not. If the medical staff says you're a go, but we should probably limit his minutes to 30 to 34 minutes, then be sure to do that. But so the point I'm trying to say is, if I'm the coach, what is the medical staff saying? Like I feel like the medical staff should be part of the team meetings now. So that we know. So I know as a coach, what am I doing? How many minutes? And for me, I would do it based on what the medical staff is saying. But Jeff, any thoughts on that? And then Lady in the Chef and Staffer.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, with the exception of if you're only got like if you can't move up or down in the playoff standings, like if you're locked into say the fifth seed and it doesn't, you know what I mean, and you can't go anywhere from up or down, and you only have a couple games left in the season, like you clinched your spot and you're kind of stuck there. That would be the only scenario where I can say, okay, for sure, that's the way to go. Because the way that I look at it is this: your spot isn't secure Like the difference between us and the seventh seed is not that much. You say, well, we're going to lose these games, or pull these players. That may be the difference between you having to play in the play-in and you having the fifth seed or even the fourth seed in a home game. So, you play to win the games, as somebody once famously said. So, to me, as you said, if the doctors clear you to play, then Thibodeau has carte blanche as far as I'm concerned. And if the doctors say you're on a strict minutes restriction, then you better adhere to that if you're the coach. But other than that, you know, it, look, Josh Hart's not having any minutes restriction right now. I can promise you that. That guy's averaged 40 minutes a game over the last 11 or 12, and we've needed every single minute of those. Every game that we've won, he's been an integral part of, of that success. So, you want to get to the playoffs in the best shape you can, but you got to get to the playoffs first.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Lady in the show?
Yeah, I think certain players need to be on restricted minutes, and I would lower them a little bit, like Hartenstein, because that Achilles, you don't know if that's going to get aggravated. I would even say Brunson limit his minutes down some, just so that we can preserve him for the playoffs. And even when it came to
Despite what the medical staff saying that the coach should just limit the minutes. I just want to be clear.
say that again, I'm sorry.
Despite what the medical staff is saying, you're saying the coach should limit the minutes. Like, so if
Yeah,
the medical staff said this guy is fully clear, you're saying the coach. Okay.
yeah, because I get it. I'm 50-50. Like I understand where Stafford was coming from with OG. I think that OG as a player, players could say that they're ready to play. And that to some degree, I don't think you could fully blame the medical staff or the coach because a player may feel okay, but like OG in the first game back, he was reaching his arm in, trying to steal balls or die for balls. And I was like, while I love the effort, I just think it's too early for you to be doing that. And then at the same time, I was a big component of saying, I don't feel like we should rush him coming back. I remember you were saying, Queen, like if we can get the injured players back and they just play, even if it's 5 games of the regular season, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
I don't think you need to have them back for this remaining when at the time it was like 20 games left, we're at 15 left. I just don't think that you need to rush players back. But I think as a coach, that's where Tom, yeah, I think he has to put his foot down. But Tom doesn't know how to do that very well. When Randall was healthy, he was playing him and Brunson in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left in the game. Why? We're up by 20 points. Why are you have them in the game? I just don't understand that. And just like even now, I think, if we're up, sit Brunson down. You could play deuce. You got Burks. Take Burks out for a couple of minutes. I think Shake should be getting a couple of minutes so we can see what he can do before we try to throw him into a playoff game randomly. But I think that, yeah, I think as the coach, you have to put your foot down and say, you know what, to preserve you guys for the playoffs, Josh Hart is playing way too many minutes. Just cut the minutes down some.
Okay.
Do you guys think that? Do you agree with my analysis that Tibbs has made these adjustments as of late, and and and,
Yes, yes.
and I think it's a direct reflection of us him not doing it earlier. You know what I mean? Like whether you want to blame Tibbs for the Randall injury, but that was a big talking point of why was he still in the game that late. And it's happened numerous amount of times. Brunson, why was he in the game that late? So I think Tibbs is actually finally adjusting to some of this. And then my other point was, isn't it? I also like the fact that he could sit him in the game for an extra 2 minutes. So the logic of having him 100% energy wise for the last 6 minutes as opposed to 80% for the last 8. You know what I mean? To me, that's a big difference. And I don't see the big difference between adjusting in game and adjusting, like in a larger scale with player resting or reducing players minutes. So I think it's the same. Have them 100% going into the playoffs as opposed to 80% going into the playoffs because they played all these games down the stretch.
Right.
What,
Do you
what-
know that the New York Knicks do not have a player that's playing 35 minutes in the top 15?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I think, yeah, I think the whole minutes thing is overblown overall before the injuries. I think it was overblown. I think people are just looking at the Knicks and they're not comparing it to what other teams are doing. But yeah, the minutes are up with the injuries, but I think that's to be expected. I don't think the Knicks are doing anything any other team does when they have a rash of injuries. Players play more minutes. And I know as fans, I guess we want to bring in a G League guy, give them more minutes so Brunson can. It's just not going to happen. I don't think the Knicks are doing anything that other teams um, don't do. Now, Hart 40 minutes, maybe, we can get somebody to come in for 2, 3 minutes. But to me, it's not even how many minutes you play in the game, it's your recovery. What's your recovery like? You playing 40 minutes and then we got to shoot around the next day. That's a problem. Like so I would be interested in what's the recovery like. If all these guys are doing is playing in the games, they're not practicing, they're just walking around, they're getting adequate sleep, they're getting I mean, I guess I wouldn't worry that much. The other thing I would say is just because OG got hurt doesn't mean he was rushed back. Sometimes you have setbacks. When you act first of all, I thought they was taking too long to bring him back. I was like, "Well, how long is he gonna practice?" It's just, it's just an elbow. I thought they was taking too long to put him back on the court. You can have, you can be fully healthy, or you think you are, and you have setbacks.
and we
I
seen when it happened, or at least heard. You know what I mean? You heard him scream on the reach in, so it's not like it was him being brought back early. It was a re-aggravation, or you know what I mean? Like we seen when it happened, so
right,
that has nothing to do with him coming back early or not. It got re-aggravated in live game. You know what I mean?
right,
And a lot of times you don't know until they are in that crucible, right? Because you can play practice 5-on-5, but it's not the same intensity as a game. There's nothing that simulates game action, right?
Mhm.
So he could have been fine in 5-on-5, everything's good, but then you ramp up that extra level, and all of a sudden what feels good doesn't feel as good anymore. And like Tony accurately said, he certainly seemed like he tweaked it or re-aggravated it during a play. And you don't you know that can happen. I mean, just because you're cleared to play doesn't mean that spot is not more prone to injury because it was injured before. And so that's just you know misfortune as much as it is anything. I mean, I think we try to assign blame too much. Like sometimes, 100% of players get hurt, right? At some point or other, so you hope to mitigate the risk and manage it the best you can. But, you know, for the most part, I can't really say most of the injuries that it's definitely Tibbs' fault because of minutes or whatever. I think a lot of it is, if you want to argue that maybe that Randall shouldn't have been in at the end of that Miami game, okay, but I don't think you anticipate that the guy is going to flat out tackle your player and separate his shoulder either. So I don't know that that's fair either.
I kind of slightly disagree with you a little bit, Jeff, when you say is there's no blame. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you clearly hear the young man screamed out, and I don't know if you ever been an athlete. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever played soccer and got kicked in your shin and you can't walk that good, but you know you the only left wing out there and you got to defend the goalposts. So you tell the coach, yeah, I'm good, even though you still hurt. You understand what I'm saying? When the coach know you just got injured playing, you seen the guy tackle you that bad where you could hardly walk, but you still walking out there like you good because you got a little treatment. Sometimes when you get injured, just sit him out for the rest of the game. You understand what I'm saying? And I do gotta share a little blame data on Tom Thibodeau too. You understand what I'm saying? Because if he hit a young man hit his elbow like that and he scream out, yo, it's a concern.
But
It's
what is the
definitely
medical staff saying? The only reason I'm saying this
no,
is
no, but
because
I'm
I've
no, no, no,
coached,
no,
and it
no.
was the same thing. I've
But
heard
this
girls
is in the
scream.
game, Queen. We talking
I
about in the
understand
game.
what you're talking about. I've coached players in college that twisted an ankle. They screamed out. They did this. They did that. They always get checked by medical before they came back in the game. It wasn't my decision. So I would ask medical, can they go or not? So if medical say they can go, then they can go. This is
But what I'm saying to you, coaches, right? The medical might say go. I might say go, but I know I can't go. This is what I'm trying to say to you as an athlete. You
okay.
understand what I'm saying?
Again,
That he
listen,
wants
then
to
you
be
gotta
out
tell the
there.
truth. Tell the truth to the medical staff. The medical
Mhm.
staff is checking you out. If you lie how is the medical staff going to read your mind?
Exactly. So you
If the
can't really
medical
blame the
staff
coach
is
on that one.
moving to see if you have range of motion, they moving the elbow, they doing whatever they doing, and you're not saying, "Oh, that hurts." So what is the medical staff is going to say? He's good. I checked it out. I moved. The range of motion was there. This, that, and the other. Um, and he said he could Alexa off. What 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 is the medical staff to say? Now, if a medical staff comes to me and say that this player can go, how many coaches are going to be like, okay, I hear you. You said he can go, but you know what? I'm going to just sit him anyway. I mean, maybe there's some coaches that'll, will do that. The point is the coaches go by what the medical staff says. The coaches are not in their head. Oh, the coaches are focusing on the game. Coaches are not focusing on the medical staff said he can go and that he's only could get 25 minutes, but I'm gonna give him 23. Or the medical staff said, he can go, but I don't know. He didn't sound too good, so I'm only. I mean, that's rare. You in the midst of a game, you listening to the medical staff. He's a go or not. He's a go. He's a go or not. 20 minutes, and you factoring that in. You're not digging deeper into it, other than what the medical staff is saying and what the player is telling you. They have to match. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, okay, okay. I see your point. I see your point.
But D Grant, I hear what you're saying. The medical staff is under the control of the Knicks management. So if you believe that management is going to, because they paying these guys millions of dollars. If you believe this is not high school
Mhm.
or college. So basically what you're saying is you believe that the front office will put a player's health in jeopardy so that they can win a game. It's hard for me to believe that when just so that they can get a higher seating. When you got these players, you're on the hook for paying them 20, 30, 40, million dollars a year. You're going to put it in jeopardy just so you can win a game. So I get it. The medical staff is under the control of Knicks management, but it's hard for me to believe that they would mess with their investment that way to win a game or to be the fourth seed as opposed to the sixth seed. That's just hard for me to believe. But what do you guys think?
Just like I said earlier, it's a collective agreement between the medical staff and the front office, because both of them have to come talk to each other to let each other how the medical thing going and if he's okay. So that statement is actually correct. But As far as the minutes thing, I always say the minutes is overblown. The guys want to play. You understand what I'm saying? Just as I said before, the only person that's playing 35 minutes, point three, and is number 18 in minutes is Jalen Brunson. Nobody else plays over 35 minutes. It may look like Josh Hart playing 40 minutes every night, but he doesn't average that. I didn't even look it up. This was just the top 20 that I just looked up. And Jalen Brunson is at 18. DeMar DeRozan is at number one. So for the minutes situation, it's just ridiculous. Guys want to play out there. They want to go out there and play and win games. And for a coach like Tom Thibodeau, he's not giving up games. That's not his mentality. He don't do that. You know what I mean? As we always get mad at him, we could be up 20 and he'll still have his top five players in there because he want to definitely knows that we won the game. So I don't see the management doing that or Tom doing that. I don't see him signing off on that. Not at all.
Well, Halliburton had injuries. Matherin went down with a season-ending injury. I don't see anybody yelling at Rick Carlisle. So how is
I
it
mean, we
different?
don't watch Indiana games though, Jeff. We not focus on Rick Carlisle. We focus on the Knicks. So you understand what I'm saying? So I understand where you're coming from with that statement, but we don't. We're not in that fan base to say that we should be saying anything. We don't know.
You mean we don't know if the fan base is complaining about the minutes?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think, yeah. To me, this is just what happens.
I don't know if it's minutes. I'm sorry, Queen. If
No,
it's minutes in particular, but they definitely complain about the coaching and and yeah, rotations. The same thing. Like I said, that's what one thing I'll give Lucis Lounge credit for. You hear the same complaints from us. You hear throughout the league about their own players, their own coaches, their own. You know what I mean? So it's no different.
it's the same. I told you I went to some Reddits about Steve Spoelstra and Steve Kerr, and you would have thought they was talking about Tom Thibodeau, sticking with the same rotations. Spoelstra's not being creative on offense. Look like they just playing in the playground. You would have thought they was talking about Thibodeau. All right. I do want to just acknowledge this really quick. Brunson Play of the Week for the third time this season, 27.3 points, 3.3 rebounds, 9.3 assists, a 4-0 week. Should he be in the MVP conversation? Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna say this. I don't see a bunch of a bunch of teams coming into the Garden and hearing people in the Garden screaming MVP for such player on the other team. But I hear for Brunson throughout the league. So I think as much as we think it's just us, I think he's getting some acknowledgement out there, and by the end of the year, I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people. I think he deserves mentioning.
Anyhow he drags the New York Knicks to number three, he is going to get considered in that MVP running. Cause the boy been doing his thing, man. You know what I mean? Dropping 40 points, just beating the odds, period. You know what I mean? Making the Dowers got to go back and rethink what they said. You know what I mean? Queen, you remember you was talking about earlier, they made an article where with Spolstra, and then you got Mike Brown talking the same thing. Hell of a player. We throw the stuff bag at him. We couldn't stop him. Yo, I mean, what else do you want this kid to go out and? The only thing that he needs to go out and do is win the championship, and that's gonna shut everything down. So, um, he deserves to be in the conversation if he gets us to that third spot and solidify that third spot without Julius Randle, and then we see OG going down. and then he keeps dropping 40 points, it's over. It's over. He got to be in the top 5 when you do that, when he does that. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment? Lady in the shop?
Yeah, I agree with Steph. And I think Steph was just saying this on Tony Crow's show earlier. Um, I think that it's hard for him to try to win that MVP title because I think you have to be at least top 2 teams. And maybe if you finish in third in the standings. And I think that even if Randall was here, well, one, let me backtrack. I really don't trust New York fans when they're in the Garden because they chant MVP and the silliest things when they're at the Garden. So they just, if the food is not good that particular night, they'll make a chant about that. So they just make any kind of chant on any particular night. But I do think that they are right when they chant MVP for Brunson. But I've heard them do that for Randall. But I think the difference is that the impact that Brunson has made on this team, there's been a huge difference since he's been on this team. I just don't think that he will get it. I think he deserves to be in the conversation, but I don't think he's going to get it because we're sitting at that fourth and we're like tiptoeing in fourth because we have Orlando right behind us. You have, and Miami, this is their time. They like being in the eighth because they're like, we're going to hit you with the scaries. We're going to beat whoever we want. We're going to come by and do what we do. Not sure it's going to happen this season, but it's possible. So you can't sleep on any team. Indiana, Orlando, Cleveland, who's playing really well. But I think that what Brunson does so well, even though the Knicks' points in the paint have been down lately, he's able to create his own one-on-one, and it's so nice to watch considering he's only what 6'2", and
If that.
he's so strong. He's able to take contact, the moves that he does, the footwork, the maneuvering of his shoulders, his body movements to get to the basket and get whatever shot that he wants. That's what superstars do. That's what MVPs do. They're able to create and get shots off and do what they do. And then honestly, like I said earlier, if it comes down to who's going to take the last second shot, I feel very confident and trust that Jalen Brunson can knock down the shot for us. But I just think that if the Knicks were able to, because honestly, there's maybe like a handful of games that we shouldn't have lost, that we should have been at least in third by now, and we would have made us some wiggle room,
Mhm.
from that fourth seed if we would have made it into the third without Julius Randle. I truly believe we would have, but if he was there, it would have definitely helped, a great deal. But I think that Brunson, I think that he should be in the MVP talks for sure for what he has done for this team, especially this season. And I think also just watching him and seeing what he's going to do, in the postseason. So I don't know. I think if we was in third, then for sure I would say he should definitely be, voted at the top, getting the top votes to win it.
Okay. Jeff, do you want to comment before we?
Sure. I've been banging the Brunson MVP drum for a little bit now. I really, there's only 4 Knicks in the history of the franchise with back-to-back 40-point games, and he's one of them. So that's it seems like every game he does something that puts him in even more elite company in terms of the franchise. And so the thing that's so hard is there's so many good candidates, right? Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is very deserving, in my opinion. You've got Jokic. Well, it's tough to argue with Jokic. You've got Giannis. Okay, well, it's tough to argue with Giannis. So, and Jason Tatum is the best player on the team with the best record. So, you kind of probably have to factor him in there somewhere. And then you've got guys like Kawhi and LeBron and Kevin Durant, and and so there's a lot of really elite top level players. So, to actually be the MVP obviously isn't realistic, but I think that if he continues on the path that he is now, top 5 consideration is not out of the question, and it shouldn't be because I think he's really dealt with more that any of those other players have had to in terms of injuries, in terms of carrying the load, in terms of, just everything that this Nick team has been through this year has been kind of crazy, and he's unflappable.
No doubt. He's actually the 5th leading scorer in the league. Did you guys know that? Luka, Shai, Giannis, Durant, Brunson, and Durant and Brunson is percentage points
Mm.
Wow.
between
I'm
the
not surprised.
yeah,
That's another thing to look at
Yeah.
when you talk about consideration.
yeah, yeah.
That's another thing to look at.
No,
I mean,
no,
I knew he was up there in points in the paint amongst all trees. You know what I mean? Like he the only little guy that's in there in points in the paint. So, but 5th in the league in scoring, I did not know that. I knew he was in top 10.
yeah. Somebody check me on that, but I
I
believe
thought it was top. I thought it was like 9 or something like that.
really somebody check me on that. I could have swore I read that.
He's 5. That's what I was mentioning earlier on Tony
He is
Crow.
5.
So he's at 27.5 points per game.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he gets a lot of attention. He gets a lot of attention. When we're healthy and you can't really load up on him, whew,
Where does that rank all time Nick wise? It's got to be top 3. I think Melo probably was up in that range.
Melo won the
once or twice.
scoring
Title
championship
as a Nick, yeah.
title as a Nick.
Right. And
Yeah, and if
so
he
did Bernard King, but I don't know that he averaged that much.
oh, you mean in terms of points per game? Okay, that I don't
Yeah.
know. I think Melo was at 30. He might have been at 30 or something like that.
It was definitely 28. I don't know if it went up, but he was. I know he was at 28 one year as well.
Okay, and if he makes All NBA, it'll be the first. I think it's the first
Knicks guard.
Knicks guard since Frazier.
Wow.
Right? Oh my god!
That's
If he
over
makes
50
All
years.
NBA,
His accolades is just going up and up, man.
yeah,
It's a testament to hard work.
yeah. I want to see if I can sneak in one more question before we start talking about maybe we should just move on to the game. But I'm hoping Burks and Bogey play pretty well in Sacramento, and let's just hope this is the beginning of them getting off the snide. I mean, Bogey for me, his process has been really good. His shots is just not falling. Burks, as we said on Tony's show, as I said on Tony's show, looked like this was the first game where he looked like a basketball player. And it's not even about him hitting the shots. It's just the shots that he took and how he was getting his shots. He looked like he was playing within the flow, of the offense. We're gonna need those two guys in the playoffs. Those are the two guys in that second unit that could either shoot or get their shot. Josh Hart can, he can hit a 3, he can get his shots in transition. He does have the turnaround. All right. I mean, he's okay.
He's not a scorer though.
Right. He's not a he will get you points, but I don't know if I would consider him a scorer, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Let's read this and then we'll get into these games coming up. Paris Doug, appreciate the super chat. Brunson, there's super chat. So the channel is back monetized.
When?
Correct?
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
They got demonetized again?
No. I didn't hear the news from when it wasn't.
Oh yeah. It's been since late February, I think.
Late February. Okay. All right, cool. Brunson is the only one you have to watch minutes because he gets hit every possession. You have to keep him fresh for a deep playoff run. Next would be iHeart. I hear you, Paris. I don't think anybody is going to be fresh going into the playoffs.
Nobody's 100% going into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the upcoming games. I don't know if you guys can see this, but anyway, the Knicks are 4th in the Eastern Conference. They are just a half game ahead of Orlando, breathing down our necks in the 5th, 5th spot. Indiana is, what is that? Two 2.5 games. So there's some space, but Orlando is right there. And Cleveland is just 2 games. Cleveland won, I believe Cleveland won tonight. And somebody in the chat pointed out that Morris, who they felt the Knicks should sign, played well for Cleveland,
Mhm.
tonight. Yeah, it is what it is. All right. So tonight we play Golden State. They're 35-31. They've won their last game. Coming into this game, they're ninth in the record against is not accurate. They're ninth in the conference standings. Their offensive rating is at 11th. Their defensive rating is at 15th. Their net rating is at 14th, which is not that bad actually. Over the past week, 12th in offense, 18th in defense, 11th in net rating. They've been playing relatively well of late. Thursday we played Denver. Remember, we blew them out at the Garden. So they'll remember that for sure. So they'll be extra motivated to play the Knicks. They're 47-21. They lost their last game. They're second in the Western Conference. That is correct. Record against 1-0. Sixth in offense, 10th in defense, 5 in that. I mean, if you're top 10 in all 3 phases, that's a really good team. The last 3 though, 17th in offense, 6th in defense, 7th in net rating. But don't worry, whatever the offensive ratings, you're gonna have to bring it against Denver. And then Saturday we play Brooklyn. Not having a great season, 26-42. They've lost 3 straight, 11th in the Eastern Conference. I'm not even sure how many times we played them, but we're definitely winning that. Have won that series up to this point.
Mhm.
20th in offensive rating, 19th in defensive rating, 22nd in net rating, and it's even worse over the last 3, 25th, 24th, 27th. Just not a good team. And that means they're gonna give the Knicks everything.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That means they're gonna give the Knicks everything they can handle. Um, predictions for tonight and this week.
Well, I'm gonna go 2-1.
Okay.
I
All right.
say we win tonight, and just by saying that our starting lineup going to be Jalen Brunson, McBride, DiVincenzo, Ihart, and Hartenstein. That's our 5 tonight.
So they bring in. Wow, is Precious playing tonight?
He probably might come off the bench.
I'm surprised. Well, probably for matchup purposes.
Wait,
So
what's the starting lineup?
Um, Brunson, McBride, Dante,
Oh shoot.
Hart, Hartenstein.
they going
Mhm.
3 guards.
I
Is it?
see,
You
I
think it's
see,
a
I see, I
matchup?
see what they doing.
Right, you see what they
Um,
doing, right? So I see. I'm seeing what Tibbs doing too. So that's why I'm gonna go 2-1 with that lineup right there. I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna put the clamps down, the defense down just by that lineup right there. From jump start, we're gonna set the tone. Um, we probably may get killed on the boards, man. May kill on, so we need to scrap for every single board that we can right now.
so who's guarding Kaminga?
Probably Hartenstein
Hmm.
or Josh Hart, one of them.
See, that's my only concern with tonight.
That's
Kaminga
what I'm
had
saying.
got
Yeah.
everything he wanted last game.
Mhm.
So we'll see. We'll see what happened. And then they the champs. They're gonna remember that we put that 38-point beating down on them. So
Hmm.
they're gonna definitely remember that. And then we're going. We always beat up on our little brothers, man. You know what I mean? So they're gonna come in there thinking they're gonna try to win something, and we're gonna just beat them down. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm going 2-1 on with this one.
Okay, Lady and the Chef.
Yeah, I got us 2-1. Tonight's a game that I hope the Knicks can capitalize and get the win. There was about 4 or 5 teams, and the Warriors were one of them who I had that the Knicks have to prove that they can beat these teams. I know Denver, we beat them already, but the Warriors, the Knicks seem to struggle against them. And you got to tighten up on that perimeter defense, be able to stay against that 1-on-1 when you're playing that one-on-one defense, being able to stay on your man.
Mhm.
But I really would like to see the Knicks take this one. But I don't know. I'm always like weary and on the fence when we play Golden State, just because the Knicks seem to struggle against them, just like we do against Boston, OKC, and like one or two other teams. We kind of just. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't. I'm not even necessarily blaming on the fact that OG's not playing. I just think that even if he was here, this is one of those teams that the Knicks have to really come out with that high energy.
Mhm.
Third quarter, come out with the high energy, and then the Knicks have to want it more. Don't let Clay and Steph come out there and do whatever they want to do. Put your foot on their necks and don't let go.
Right.
Get the win. They have to figure out how to win too with injured players. I've been saying that for a while.
Yes, you
And
have.
this is where the supporting cast has to step up. I need Bogdanovic to step up. I need to see Burke step up. McBride, I need you to step up. Tonight's not a night for him to have 0 points. I need you to put something on the board for us and not more than 2 points. Josh Hart, I need you to step up. Hartenstein, I need you to have a good game. So I need to see the supporting cast step up and give Brunson some help. He can't keep you can't keep what do you want him to score 60 tonight? He's gonna need some help tonight.
Well,
So I need other guys to step up and help out in tonight's game.
And you know what? I feel like the Knicks, when you look at this roster, I feel like they do have enough individual talent. It's just that it hasn't come together, and I feel like it's been taking a long time to come together. Yeah. Anyway, um, Jeff, your thoughts on this
not having
game?
OG really worries me. He is so crucial to everything that we do, and the Warriors, as Lady and the Chef so adroitly pointed out, just a tough matchup, especially without your best perimeter defender. That's not to say that people can't step up,
Mhm.
but Brunson being in there will certainly help. Uh, it would be nice if Dante had a good game against his old uh,
Team.
troops, because he really struggled in that first game, and he's struggled with his shot quite a bit of late. So
He has.
I'd like to see him kind of get back on track. Maybe have a really good night, and as Lady and the Chef said, maybe ease the burden on Brunson a little bit on offense, and then Josh Hart may
Mhm.
have to have another one of those triple double games, and you know Denver, the Mile High City is almost always a nightmare for us. Like, it's just hard to play there, especially at the last game of a road trip. You're already dragging, and then you have to play in the altitude and all that stuff. So their toughness is definitely going to get tested that night. Um, and then I always worry about the first game back after a long road trip. Doesn't matter who we're playing. That's always a scary thing, and especially when it's against little brother. So they're going to have to step up. But I think uh, I think they'll go 1-2 in these next three games. Is what I expect.
1 and 2. Okay. 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 Um, toned and staff.
I'm going 2-1 as well. I'm banking on DiVincenzo having a bounce back game against the Warriors, as well as just getting back on track, like you guys mentioned. Uh, Obviously, the one loss would be Denver. I think they come out on a mission. I don't think it's a blowout, though. I think we actually fight them tooth and nail, but I think they prevail. We get the Nets.
Okay. Staffer, did you go?
Yeah, I went 2-1 also too. I went
Yeah.
2-1. I went 2.
I'm gonna go 2-1 and say we lose to Denver, but I think tonight's game is gonna be a tough game as well. What I do like what we have going for us is defensively, we've been pretty good.
Mhm.
We've been pretty good. Even I think even before OG came back, I think we were playing pretty good defensively. If we can just get our offense on track. Like, the defense is holding us in games, but we really need to score and hit the shots to get over the top, because the defense is just not enough by itself. It's good, it's great, but by itself, it's just not enough. And if we can get like Lady and the Chef said, Burks to knock down some shots, Bogdanovich to knock down some shots. McBride has been hot and cold. Some games I don't know, but I'm not going to get on him too much because it seems like his role now is just to play behind Brunson, and that's
Mhm.
pretty much it. So he's not getting a lot of time. But now tonight he's playing beside him, so it may go up. And I think we need Hartenstein is looking a little better. He's not a scorer though. We
Mhm.
need Hart, as somebody mentioned, to come out of his role a little bit, and we need scoring now. It's not his forte, but we need it, you know. So we'll see how that goes. Any last words?
Thanks for having us. You already know it's always a pleasure, Queen, here on the Queen's Court. NBK, Tony Crow, Jeff. Welcome to the party, Lady and the Chef. You
Amen.
understand? It's always a pleasure. I love your takes, by the way. And
Yes,
shout out to the chat. All right, y'all keep us going.
yeah,
Peace out.
for sure. Even you, Greg, appreciate you. Nah, Greg is my guy. Greg is my guy. Always supporting, even from the beginning. I appreciate you, Greg. Anybody else? Last words?
Again, thanks for having me. Pleasure to share the screen with Lady and the Chef and your co-hosts that for the first time, and looking forward to returning the favor. Shout out to the chat. Yeah, and I'm looking to do something on Wednesday as well. So check me out. Nicks and Bruises Wednesday. Queen, it's been a pleasure. Jeff, Staffer, always a pleasure.
Yeah, yep, for sure. Um, really, really quick. We may not be able to get through them, but this is the MBK family of shows. You already know how it is. It's growing now. We got the two Knicks chicks part of the MBK, um, family as well. Um, we didn't forget you, DJ Shuttle. DJ Shuttle used to be here on Mondays, but now he's doing his thing on IG Live. So be sure to have him playing in the background while y'all listening to the Queen's Court, you know. And then
All
also
aboard.
right, all aboard. And then Fridays, 108 Soul from 8 to 10 p.m. So if you guys are into, you know, hip hop, R&B, that 80s, 90s type, and some 2000s as well, check them out. The flow is real. Um, Spread love to Nick's Chicks. We just talked about this is Lady and the Chef, Mom Diva Locks, the two Nick's Chicks. Be sure that they're on Twitter now as well. So subscribe to the channel. Just go to your YouTube search browser, put in Two Nicks Chicks, subscribe to the channel. I love the way they give it up, but they are now on Twitter. So just search for Two Nicks Chicks on Twitter and follow them. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at BKSteph33. Subscribe to Dope Soul Sports and Nick Talks. We go live. I think it's Fridays now because the Knicks are playing Thursday. So we have to move it around a little bit depending on, when the Knicks play. Um, but we appreciate you, appreciate Simeon Russell, for what he does for the NBK fam. Until next time.